Hello everyone. Let me wish a very great evening to each one of our participants. You all are warmly welcome to the 21st Evening for Managers Forum organized by the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. I'm Roshan Collis from the Education and Training Committee, and I'm pleased and honored to be the facilitator today's program. So the Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka is the most active institute of Sri Lanka that provides platform to development of all its members. They are in the management level, but we disregard their industry because we provide the platform all managers to get together for the development. We accept all the differences of their expertise, experience, then we try to provide more and more insights for them to develop in the area of management. So as you are aware, as you can see in the frame here, the topic up there is planning for unplanned. Planning for unplanned. So it is all about planning for uncertainty in the future. The topic is quite straightforward, but I would say that is very timely more than ever. We all face to unplanned situation today. So it's not about facing to unplanned situation, but winning the unplanned situations. How equipped we are to win those situations. Not necessarily we will be able to win all the situations, but we need to win enough to ensure the sustainability of our organization and finally maybe to keep our jobs as well. So to discuss this timely topic, we have Dr. Rohan Tatukorala, the President CEO of Clotak Sri Lanka, Maldives and Pakistan, and who is also the strategic lead of Swadeshi Industry PLC, and he's our keynote presenter today. Also, we have Mr. Sumendra Jaira, Assistant General Manager, Head of Training and Development of AIA Insurance Sri Lanka, and Mr. Shanaka Fernando, Director and Senior General Manager HR of WNS Global Services. So we are pleased to have this team as our program facilitators and keynote speaker today, and they are professionals, but I would say very importantly they are practical individuals. So you will see the best productivity in the today's webinar compared to all our 20 programs we had, both in the webinar form as well as the physical form. A development in the presentation itself has been done. Let me thank the team, Dilshan and entire team of the Institute who has done a wonderful job. I can see how you will visualizing this particular program in the other unit as well. So that's a very wonderful thing that we are having. So then, without taking much time, let me invite our president, Professor Lakshman R. Watavala, who is the founder president of Institute of Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka, to welcome all of you. Over to you, Professor.
Good evening to all of you. Our chairman of the Education and Training Committee, Mr. Roshan Collis, who's been really very active in organizing these what you call either the continuing professional development or continuing professional education programs for our membership and others. I'm also indeed pleased to welcome our keynote speaker, the key presenter, Mr. Dr. Rohan Tatukorala, together with the other panelists who are there, Mr. Shanaka Fernando and Mr. Sumendra Jairam. And I find that they are from the industry area, and definitely they will be able to make a very good presentation on this topic. Now, the theme of the conference or the seminar was on planning for the unplanned. In today's circumstances, today's situation, this is a very topical area that we can discuss. And I'm sure the key presenters and our panelists will be able to do justice to this topic. But just looking at it, today we are in a situation which we never expected, which we never planned for, and we were just recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and now it has gone in reverse gear. So this again shows that our topic should be able to tell us what we should do and how we can maybe withstand the shocks that we are going to have. Now, we may have our contingency plans, but I'm sure that this is going to be more than that. Although we plan, it is really something that has taken us by surprise. It's not something only for Sri Lanka, but also for the global situation. So it is a more serious consequence than something that is relevant to Sri Lanka. So that's why today even our conference the seminar that we are conducting today is something entirely different. Normally we would have taken a hotel room and had it, and everyone has to come by transport. But today you are very, very comfortable. We have gone into a new dimension with the Zoom technology that is available. So technology is really going to take us to the next world. It is going to be something that will open up areas for Sri Lanka, and this topic of planning for the unplanned would be really something that all of you would definitely gain. I just want to tell you something about CPM, or the Chartered Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. We just completed 10 years, and we've launched a new program, which I think is, I thought I should tell you about it, because it is quite relevant in the circumstances that we are in today, as well as for the business managers of Sri Lanka. It is the Management and Entrepreneurship Program. Now, everyone is talking of entrepreneurship, but we've been able to launch this in order, especially the business managers can get into the entrepreneurship field. It is creating a professional business manager with entrepreneurial competencies. So we are having this at 3 levels: a certificate level, a diploma level, and an advanced diploma level, which will really enable you to do, because today everyone is looking at employment, but I think we also have to become entrepreneurs, and that is an essential part of business managers, because you may be working in a company, but if you are able to open up new avenues, then you can set up your own company and do it. So the CPM has been engaged in this area, and I do hope that many of you who are present here will be able to make use of it. Plus also the membership that we are going for managers who are recognized, who have the qualifications and the experience, either at associate level, membership level, or the fellowship level. So these are also available, and I'm sure that all of you should make use of it. And I'm indeed happy that we have been able to continue these programs uninterrupted. Although many thought that we will stop all these things due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but the technology, the Zoom that has come in, has enabled us to go into these things. So that's how we as a body, I think a very dynamic body has been able to take things forward. And let me key presenter and the other staff, Dilshan, who have been
Thank you, Professor. So, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, we are now about to commence the keynote presentation. Let me give the little briefing about the structure as well. We will have the 15 to 20 minutes presentation by the keynote speaker, Dr. Rohan Tatupora. Then after that, we will have panel discussion thereafter, and program is scheduled to conclude at 8:30 at night today. During that time, please remember you can use the chat box, post all your questions. I see a lot of you all have already using it, and also recording will be available in social media as well. So let me very warmly invite, and we are so glad to have Dr. Rohan Tatupora, the President, CEO of Plutalk Sri Lanka, Maldives and Pakistan, who is also the strategic lead of Swadeshi Industries Private Limited. So over to you, Doctor.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much, for this invite, and uh, thank you, Professor Lakshman Vatawala, for setting the stage for me to share a few thoughts about what's happening around there. Uh, with the permission of um, Roshan, Sumedh, and Shanaka, uh, let me share uh, some key things which I picked up. I hope it will be beneficial. But the first thing I like to share is that, the decline in demand happened before COVID. So that's something that we need to understand. The data that I got from Nielsen, where you see, overall consumption declining across all the categories. Toilet soaps are declining by -6, toothpaste -1, toothbrushes, sanitary napkins are declining uh, by 3%, branded hair oil by 18%. So the point I'm saying is that the 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 pressure on the purse happened long time before COVID, and post COVID we saw the crash, um, as we see. And I think it's very important that when we are planning, we need to understand the variables by which we are going to plan. So I'm not going to talk to you about how to do the planning, but I'm going to talk to you about a few data points that you need to take into account when you're planning. But then Sri Lanka fought back. Huh? So everybody said that we are going to decline by, crazy kind of numbers, but then, as usual, Sri Lanka fought back, and we can see how uh, uh, ADB said it was -6.1, World Bank said 3.2% minus, IMF said 0.5, but we can see that we might be around at about a zero. So I think we have to understand that Sri Lanka always fights back. Yeah, I mean, this is not a rhetoric. I mean, when I was heading the Economic Council reporting Dr. PB in 2008, I remember, the World Bank country head heading economics, Ijaz Ghani, was leaving, and he was having a discussion one day, and continuously he said that it's very difficult to read the Sri Lankan economy because in 2003 and 4, when we were about to collapse, the tsunami came and $3 billion came in. Then in 2008, when oil was at about $150, suddenly the whole commodity bubble burst, and we had just money for 11 days, but then suddenly oil prices came down to $28. And then of course you have 2000, and then you have the war, which came to a cessation of hostilities, which everybody thought is not going to happen. Then in 2015 you had a government change. Then in 2008 you have another government change with Yahapalania. So continuously we have seen that there are some things which happen in this country that economics cannot explain. So I mean, I've been involved in the Sri Lankan economy as chairman of the Export Development Board, chairman of tourism, chairman of Lanka Satosa. So, how we kind of shape up and run, it's something that people can't actually fathom. The country is, there's something special. This is not a rhetoric, but I've given you some data. Anyway, advertising spend has declined by about 23% to 55.3 billion. Last year we did about, I think, 70 billion as at end of September, end of August. So, I mean, things are slowing down. But then, of course, I mean, if you look at the numbers, you can see how production has again picked up. We have fought back, and our exports are touching $1 billion on a monthly basis. So we see it happening. But then, of course, we must be used to this new normal called the Haman dance. Now, I know Professor said that it's very unfortunate that this has to happen, but then this is the new normal. For the next 1.5 years, in my view, we'll be going in and out of this whole theory called hammer and dance, where the economy booms. We were really doing good about 3 weeks time, and then suddenly you have the COVID-19 virus hitting us, and then we have to go for a hammer, which means that you go for a lockdown. I mean, for about 3-4 days, or maybe sometimes a week, or maybe 2 weeks, and then again the economy opens up. So the first hammer was almost 49 days, but now the world has come to a position to say that we cannot have this situation again. We can't go into this minus terrain. So now it's all about, very sad to say, the number of bodies and the economy running to go. Now everybody is angry about this whole thing of this apparel industry that happened, and we are quite angry. But then that is the decisions the countries have to make. You say you want to open the economy out, and then you take a gamble, bring down those orders from India, and you start running the operation, and then you have a leakage that happened, and we are in a situation of almost 8,000 people getting COVID and 17 people dying. So the US President Trump has taken a call saying that by the 1st of February you have about 400,000 people who will die, but he's going to somehow keep the economy running. Indian economy, same story. I mean, we have almost 1,000 deaths daily, about 85,000 people getting COVID on a daily basis, even though the fatality rate happens to be 0.5%. Fact of the matter is that the economy is not going to close. So you're going to prepare to sacrifice a few bodies to keep the economy going. So that is the grim reality that the whole world has been faced with, and that we have to accept. So, I mean, where are we now? At a 1.6% Q1 decline. Q2 data has been shelved, I think, but anyway, the data which we have got happens to be at a minus 17%. I mean, I've written an article actually to Daily FT, and I hope it will be published, because I think it's time that we accept the reality and say that it's minus 17%, because around the whole world, everything is declined. US is at -9. China is okay. Japan is -9 again. Euro is at -14.7. India is at -23.9. Britain at -21.7. Malaysia and Singapore at 17 and 30 minus. So the point I'm saying is that Q2, all the economies declined because we were in lockdown situations. But then Q3, we see the economy again picking up at about 5, 6, 7% GDP growth across the world. And hopefully, we are saying that we might end the year up at about a -4% globally, and South Asia might be at about a -2, 3, and hopefully Sri Lanka will be at 0. So that's a reality which we are having with. So now, while I give you this macro picture, I was telling our team, Roshan and Sumedh and Shanaka, that, I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about this whole thing of what is the behavior that we require. Because, I mean, I don't need to teach you guys on how planning needs to be done. You're like experts of planning, and there's nothing for me to teach you about the models of planning. But I'm going to tell you something which the books don't have, and which I picked up in the last maybe 6 months. The first skill that we need to have is that we have to be fearless. I mean, if you're going to be, I'm not saying that we need to be stupid. I mean, you got to wear your mask, you got to keep a social distance, you got to wash your hands, check your temperature, but then you have to go to work. I mean, tomorrow morning at 8:30, we must be at work. I mean, it doesn't mean that, I mean, you get your, that if your company is essential service, you can get your curfew pass, and you have to go to work. And if you want to stay at home, it's fine, but then you have to understand that, you're going to have a decline in your business. So you can't let that happen. You have to deliver that order. The order that comes has to be delivered. So there are people who are committed to going and delivering that business. So it has to happen. So you have to be fearless. I mean, last time when the lockdown happened on the 20th of March, by 28th, some of us got together and we developed this thing called a COVID control environment. Nobody was going out. I got a curfew pass, sat with the Sri Lanka Standard Institute and launched this thing called COVID control environment certification, which was not there anywhere in the world. And Akbar Brothers was one of the first tea companies got it certified, and they went all over the world saying that they are first COVID control certified company in the world. We had Kiehl's who went in, and they also said that they are the first supermarket chain. So as at now, there is almost like 300 companies who are COVID control certified. And I would advise every one of you who are listening in to make your company COVID control certified. It's done by Sri Lanka Standards Institute. It costs just 1 lakh. It's only 100,000 rupees. And if you have less than 20 people, I think it will cost you about 15,000. It's a government organization. But there's a fantastic head called Dr. Siddhika who runs it, John Hopkins University grad. And she's doing a fantastic job in terms of certifying. Most of the tea companies are certified. You have most of the rubber companies are all certified, starting from the top global rubber exporters from Sri Lanka. And as we speak now, all the FMCG companies are being certified. So my suggestion is get yourself there so that then, it becomes part of your DNA. And with your DNA, what happens is that we are ready to face COVID and continue doing our business. So we have to be fearless. Now, we went one step ahead in terms of coming out with this huge global campaign where, I got about the National Olympic Committee, I head marketing there. We got all the National Olympic Committee athletes coming on board to talk about the new norm. 183 Olympic, Commonwealth and South Asian medallions all came on board to communicate. And as we speak today, almost like 1.5 million households have been privy to this. 51 companies, schools have practiced it, and almost 12 schools have become COVID control certified. We have gone to about 2,000 outlets across the whole country, which is a Rotary project with Interact and Rotrack, and gone and explained this COVID control certification. And now, end of the day, we have been fearless. So I'm not talking to you as somebody who is sitting on a chair, but in the most difficult times, when education qualifications and your experience was useless, we went outside, and came out with this certification, which will make Sri Lanka safer place. And we did it with the service organization that we function in it. So we have to be, I think, fearless. The second skill set that I'm asking is, like what Professor Vatavula was saying, we are forced entrepreneurs right now. I mean, if you look at the data from Kanta says that in the last COVID time period, there was, the first wave, 43% of people have tried some new digital platform. I'm sure that all of you know this. Either you have got into education or you have gone into religion. You have either watched live broadcast or, you have bought something online. So we were forced to do this. So now the question is, you might not have perfect data, but you might have to change your business model. Don't worry about sticking to the knitting. If there is a consumer out there, go out there, service it with your companies, because end of the day, all what we need is to make sure that the money comes in to pay the salaries and keep the company running. So that's the kind of thinking that you need to have now. I know that there are certain travel companies who have started selling fish. They got in the fish retailing business on delivery. There are some travel companies who have just moved to a BPO. So you have to innovate and get in. Even if you take our current apparel companies, they have become very forced entrepreneurs. They have moved away from lingerie. And I know that there are orders that they got from Singapore High Commission. I was talking to the ambassador yesterday, and she was able to secure a PPE order and gloves and mask. And the apparel companies like MAS have changed their whole business process and realized they need to get into these new kinds of ventures. So, large companies have changed their product portfolio. So, you and I don't need to stick to our knitting. Move out, try to see how you can keep your P&L going. Number 3 is, if there's any negativity coming out in the boardroom, it's better to shut up, because that's the last thing that you want right now. All that you want is to inspire. Yes, there's a lockdown coming out tomorrow night. Get your passes, see how you can keep working, see how you can, on Monday, get all your workers to be brought in from company transport without waiting for public transport. Give them kotamali, you give them a vitamin C, get them to wash their hands. You have to walk the talk in terms of social distancing. It's tough, but that's what it takes, because you have to keep your inspiration going right now. because negativity is out there enough. Now, we see another new thing happening, which is that almost 600,000 people who are watching, new people are watching TV. I think these are the people who are A plus consumers who used to watch all these international channels. Now they can't travel anymore. So now they're all watching local channels to see what's happening in the market. So if you're in a business of FMCG, try to see how you can reach up to these consumers, because now these people have gone back to their basics. They cannot be having their cuisine in five-star restaurants and boutique restaurants anymore, because everything is in their house. So get in there, see how you can reach up to them and get them to buy your product. Your fourth skill is have a biasness for action. I mean, I have seen a new kind of a trait of people coming out in today's companies is, that person who was very quiet, very planning driven, that kind of guy has become, his competency level has dropped. Now it's that guy who is biased, who is action driven. He's fearless, not stupid, but he wants to go out there and do something. So that's the kind of human being that we require. Um, Please understand that I know that everybody is into social media, but yet research shows through Kanta that 86% of the people yet trust TV. Social media is trusted only by 12%. So, don't get into this bandwagon of saying I had to be on every single social media tool. It does not have to be. Yet TV talks. So stay there. Number 5, please be data driven. I mean, even if you're talking about COVID, we have to understand what is the overall national fatality rate. Yes, China, India, Italy was at 8, between 6 and 8%, but Sri Lanka is here and India is at about 0.2 to 0.5. Even if the virus caseload has gone up from 19% to 31% as we speak today, and that's what they're saying is the why people are dying in the last 4 or 5 days. End of the day, you have to be data driven. You got to understand that even if 100 people contract, you have only 0.2% to die. So even if I give a 1%, just make sure that you're not part of that statistic. So have to be data driven. For example, that 600,000 new consumers you see, you need to understand and sketch and understand which channel are they watching. What are are they on news? Are they on watching teledramas? Are they, so that then you will know where you're going to advertise. So be very conscious about data. Even when you get data on your mobile phone about some development on COVID-19, first ask yourself, is this data reliable? If it is not data reliable, don't even read it. Please don't forward it, because otherwise what happens is that it's not giving you that positive vibe that is required. Number 6, I mean, I don't need to tell you this, but 40% of your ACC groups have lost their jobs as per the Kanta research. You can go to restaurants like Coco Veranda, they will tell you like their sales have dropped by 50%. I mean, most of these international schools, most of the kids are moved out because the parents have lost their job. So we have to understand that that is the reality. And then, you need to ask yourself as to how you need to pan yourself to look at your B and C SCC groups. Number 7, invest on digital. Digital is good, but then when you're investing on digital, make sure that you look at how many people you have reached, how many people have gone to your websites, and how many people have converted into a sale. Now, if you don't go through that whole motion and only just look at the funfair of digital advertising, it's not going to work. So if you're employing a digital marketing company, zero down to maybe do your own fencing, so that then you are very clear on who are the people whom you're going to talk to, and then ask yourself what is going to be the cost of reaching them. Current rates are about 0.9 cents if you really go to see, while if you're using TV, it's 0.05 cents. So your TV is cheap, but then we have no option but go to digital. Currently, there is almost a 245% increase in e-commerce. I mean, everybody is into e-commerce now. Even the guys who have lost their job are now doing distribution through e-commerce. But now that whole social stigma has gone out. It's all about going out there and keeping your house fires burning. Please understand a little bit of your macro environment. I gave you some data, which I explained to you. which is, while the whole world is falling apart, I think Sri Lanka is fighting very good. We will end up at about maybe a 0% growth or maybe a minus 1%. But we're not going to be so bad as India, which is at minus 23%, and Maldives at minus 11%. I don't know what the Bangladesh figures are. So Sri Lanka is good. Tomorrow is not a disaster. Please understand. Tomorrow is only just a 3 or 4 days of lockdown that we are going to have, and we have to come back to work on Monday. So Monday at 8:30 we have to be there. If you have to take a curfew pass, you just need to get there and go and get the work done, because that's the new norm. That's what we have to get used to. So we are doing good. Things are picking up. Enjoy your next 3 days. Learn to work remote, and just keep fighting back. The companies that I'm attached to, I mean, Sumedha and Shanaka will tell you, all our companies are growing at 40% plus. All. I mean, we are above budget by 3-4%. Even if you talk to all the top large FMCG companies, all the companies are growing. I was speaking the other day to the CEO of Singer, and he was saying that his company is growing. Which has baffled everybody. But the reality is that most of the husbands home, and the guys are now going to the kitchen and they are learning to cook. And they realized that the wife was like kind of Gatagahana fire and keeping house fires burning. And then as soon as the lockdown was over, they first went to a Singer outlet and bought all the things. So Singer is, the whole consumer is moving. They're going back to the basics. They are spending more time at home. So I think, just enjoy yourself and just move forward. Thank you very much.
I'm very proud, and I'm glad. I'm sure all the audience that are joining today, we have more than 600 participants registered with us, and I saw sometimes we had about over 300 people with us now. And Dr. Rohanta talked very practically on things, and also after giving the macro environment very wisely, and he went to the household changes also that happened because of this situation, where men start cooking, and also you're facing the uncertainty, but don't create uncertainty by forwarding the data which are not reliable, not trustworthy for you. And then remember the 8 wonderful areas that he spoke about, how good we can approach to face this particular uncertainty, unplanned areas. So let me very warmly invite our 2 other panelists also to the stage. We have Mr. Sumendra Jayaram, Assistant General Manager, Head of Training and Development of AIA Insurance Sri Lanka, and also Mr. Shanaka Fernando, Director and Senior General Manager HR of WNS Global Services. I'm sure you will continue to experience a very practical talk till 8:30 today. So let's start the questions. If I can go back to the first point Dr. Rohanta explained, being the fearless. Yes, of course, before doing anything, we need to have our mindset right, and also we need to ensure our people face these changes with the right mindset. Because if we are to plan for unplanned, first thing, number 1 is being fearless. Being fearless. So, Sumendra, let me come to you firstly. How would you manage, how would you advise managers to coach, motivate, guide their staff in order to set the mindset that is required as in line with being fearless?
Okay. Thank you, Roshan. I think it's a pleasure to join the panel and to share my experience with you. Roshan, when you talk about unplanned thing, when you heard the word unplanned, the uncertainty come to our mind. Uncertainty is always uncomfortable for everyone, whether it's political turmoil or a reorganization at your company. Employees who are concerned about their future are likely to be distracted and unproductive. What should a manager do? how can you keep people focused while also helping them cope with the feelings that change the ambiguity bring up? I think as Dr. Rohantha very correctly said, as a manager or a head of the department, you need to be fearless first, because these situations are very unplanned. So if you just can handle this situation very diplomatically, I think you can focus on productivity. Let me give you some examples how we did and how we actually increased the productivity in the organization. How you can get prepared for times of uncertainty and face them head on when they hit you. I would just give you a few points and then I will explain, Roshan. You need to build a culture of trust, because trust is very important among your employees, even your managers. And also you need to very clearly communicate what has happened, and you need to show them all these things are uncontrollable. Because if you do not communicate that very correctly, they don't take it very positively, because fearlessness is the risk-taking ability. And also, we need to, as Dr. Rohantha very correctly said, address rumors, because there are so many rumors coming around and creating people so fearful and put them on unproductive state also. And also, we as managers, senior managers need to look for signs of distraction, because there are so many people outside, they try to distract these employees from their production. And also accept that you will sometimes face uncertainty too, because uncertainty is a very common thing. Understanding the impact is very important for a manager. And also, Roshan, you will agree with me. You need to take care of yourself first, because it starts with you. You will be better able to support your team and model resiliency if you acknowledge and manage any stress and anxiety you feel yourself. Start by taking the time to understand what you are feeling. You want to label your emotions, put distance between yourself and them, so that you can make a conscious decision about how to act in a way that in line with your values. That's very important. If you do not take care of yourself, you cannot actually face the unplanned situations. Very difficult. Secondly, Roshan, I think this is addressed by previous speaker as well. If you sense your employees are concerned about the future of the country, your organization, of their jobs, don't carry on with business as usual. You need to just put a small stop at one point, but it is not the permanent stop. These experiences are very real and can't be ignored, denied, and repressed, because they feel there's uncertainty, those humans cannot work, but you need just allow them to settle for the situation for a while. Even if your intention is to keep people focused, bottling your emotions or expecting employees to do the same can be a little dangerous. People start to feel uncomfortable voicing their feelings or concerns, and you start to get a rebound effect. Instead, directly address this issue. You might acknowledge that things seem unpredictable at the moment. At the same time, you only want to communicate up to point. You should avoid brooding, where you get stuck in a negative spiral. Acknowledge how people are feeling, but then move on, talk about how you want to act as a team as well. Because without creating that team feeling, it's very difficult to acknowledge the uncertainty. Third thing, what I will tell is, I'm talking things what we have done in the past, and we actually changed the business dimension. Encourage self-compassion. How you can do that? Some of your team members may be looking around and wondering how their colleagues are keeping it together while they are losing sleep and unable to be productive. Encourage them to have some self-compassion and acknowledge that stress is a normal psychological response to feeling out of control or threat. Help staff recognize that change can bring about a lack of agency. If you are feeling stressed, admit it. Or talk about previous situations in which you have felt anxiety, so they know make them to feel that they're not alone. If they feel alone, sometimes once again, they will go to the old mode. And also, Shan, it's very important as managers to ask people what they need. So I suggest talk with employees one-on-one and let them describe what they are going through. Do some perspective taking by putting yourself in their shoes. You want to truly understand what they think and feel, even if you don't agree or feel the same thing. It's very important. This empathy forms the basis of trust so that you can move into problem solving mode. Because if you cannot create the right trust at the right time, you cannot put them to production once again. It seems like tough time. You can ask them, it seems like tough time. What would be most helpful at the moment? Let's think about it together, because I want to help and make sure you can get your work done. You are showing that you are with them. You're showing that they are not alone. And also, maybe they need some extra guidance on how to reduce distraction, because distraction is a very, very bad negative thing. Advice on prioritizing their work or increase flexibility. These are a few things which we can address. And also, Roshan, two more things I need to tell you in this situation. Focus on what you do control. Now, people are most of the time unhappy and disturbed because of the uncontrollable things. People don't look at the controllables. Research has shown that even small rituals can reduce stress and improve performance, as can incremental progress towards clearly defined goals. You might also give people more flexibility in dictating their work schedule, so long as you encourage them to plan in advance and make an agreement that the performance expectations remain the same. So Roshan, as managers, we need to help our employees clarify what's important to them. You can do this with the whole team by asking, how do we want to act during these times? How do we want to treat one another? Members might agree that they want to continue delivering a quality service to your clients while being respectful and kind to one another. Now, I have experienced when the lockdown was implemented in Sri Lanka in March. We spoke to entire staff in my organization and we brought them to action within 48 hours, because these are the things we have actually implemented. And also encourage and model self-care. You need to allow them to sleep. You need to give them some exercise, and you need to show them that we are taking care by telling them some good tips for good nutrition, and you can just provide some proven stress killers, because these are the productivity enhancers. So encourage your team members to take care of themselves, because if you do not show that we are worrying about their self, sometimes they may not. I think the mindset is the most important thing, because mind is a powerful tool of human being, and you need to use the mind to focus these things and to change the unpredictable situation. In my organization, I think in our organizational culture itself, it is a built-in thing. We always care for each other, and employees trust us very much, because we are always with them and show that we care for them and we provide development for them. And in any situation, they are with us to face for any unplanned situation. So I'm so proud to tell, as Dr. Rohantha very correctly said, in my organization, not only in my organization, even in the industry, there was a huge business boom after COVID-19. So if we look at COVID very negatively, we won't be able to get the result. It is very negative all the time. But if we just look at the positivity, and if you are looking very optimistic, I think you can do a lot of things. I'm talking very proudly because we did it. We did it, and still we are doing it. And all of the staff, our members, are highly motivated and they are working towards their goal. And organization is moving very fast and forward.
Yeah, I totally agree, Sumendra. Thank you very much for wonderful insights. Because when we practically see, when there are no problem in the organization, or let's say one part of the organization, people are taken very positively all the changes that has happened within the organization in this situation. one key factor is how managers have handled the mentality of those people by giving the right guidance,
Exactly.
as you said, the path very truly, correctly, and very practically, which you have proven as well. I think you, as a trainer, head of training, and done training for many years, I'm sure making people's mind to face these things is something quite comfortable for you. So, a lot of learning, I'm sure, the audience that you can take. So, ladies and gentlemen, take those advices. That's very vital, I believe, for us to go further, because making the mentality right of your employees is very critical in today's concept, because the productivity will come in different forms. One can argue, okay, you had 40% growth. Maybe it may be the not organic growth, not the natural growth, because okay, if it is FMCG product, yes, people are fear so that they may be stocking. So it's the stocks that they keep. It's not the consumption that really took over. So there may be a lot of things, but still the mentality of your employees is very critical. So thank you very much, Sumendra, for wonderful insights here. But then the same question I would like to put into another perspective, where organizations are quite structured so that we govern the human resource. We have compliances, procedures to understand. We have Shanaka Fernando, who is the general manager and expert in HR. Shanaka, yeah, stemming from what Sumendra spoke about, what I want from you is to give the perspective uh, of approach that managers should take place in terms of the HR governance. How you see in the perspective of HR, in the perspective of compliance, in going towards making the mentality right of your employees to go for unplanned situations. Okay, till Shanaka come back, Dr. Rohanta, if I can.
Thank you very much, first of all, Professor Vatavala and the CPM giving this opportunity. So let me start the
Okay, Dr. Rohanta, if I can come to you now, one area you spoke about keeping your existing customers. Now, this is a situation that more than the new customers, how much effort you take to keep your existing customers. Customer retention is going to be the key for your business, right? So, what advice you would give to managers in order to keep the customer retention high at this moment of time? Maybe not going with the authentic approaches, but do something new. How important you give to this particular aspect, and what advice you will give in their approaches as well?
See, I'm going to tell you how we practice it. See, it's all to do with data. I mean, you do your business, and then the first thing that you need to do is to look at your data points and understand how many consumers did you have, how many consumers have tried new, and how many people have repeated, how many people have moved out of your brand, how many people have come into your brand. Now, in a typical fast-moving consumer goods business, we have the Kantar research that comes out, and it tells you to on a monthly basis, you have panel data that brings it out in terms of gains and loss analysis. Now, we, I mean, as a ritual, spend almost like 4 to 5 hours a month only on research. It's very, very, I mean, sometimes people don't understand in office when you say, listen, I'm going to the Cantor today and I'm going to spend 5 hours. And they think, are you on a trip? No, we go there, get into the brass tacks of understanding how many consumers at a provincial level did we keep, how many people who we lost to, and then we talk to the sales guys and understand, did you see a trend of some people moving out in your area, and our research tells you that it has gone to a brand, but what is your view? So that then when you come back to office, the first thing that you do is you again spend time on your field. and understand is your distribution picking up? How many outlets are having your product? What is your stock pressure? So the answer to your question, Roshal, is that you have to be very strongly research driven. Don't ever allow anybody to cut your research budget. I mean, the companies that I work for, we have invested more money on research this year through usage and attitude studies, through PAC research, uh, doing deep dive analysis on the consumer side, doing deep dive analysis on the retail side, and that's the only way that we pick up. I mean, you mentioned that sometimes you might have a sales growth of 40% by maybe stocking the trade. See, that's not the way we run business. If we see that there's a spike in sale, the first thing we want to see is, was there sales that is picking up at the distributor end, and is there a stock pile up? We also analyze to see from the distributor, where has the sales happened? Has the secondary sales happened? Because if your secondary sales has happened, then you know that there is no stock pile up. You have to be consciously understanding what is your stock levels you carry against your target for the next month. Normally, your average is about 40 to 60%, and you got to maintain that. You will never go and dump your distributor having like 100% of your distribution target, at the distributor point. You don't do that kind of business. Secondly, is that once you analyze your sales at the retail end, you also have to spend time at the consumer end and ask, are you retaining your consumer? And if you're losing, whom are you winning to? Or whom are you losing to? So for instance, like some of the brands I can't mention, we have 1.5 million new consumers coming in, and we have about 153 to 160 metric tons that we have got. So then you know that you're getting consumer share. So then you will say, am I going to spend more money on my advertising to increase my share of voice, because your company is doing good? So you're going to spend money on creatives. You're going to spend on production, because you know that the equity of the consumer is required for the brand. So it's a science right now. It's not just looking at your sales figures and saying things are fine, but you got to go underneath those sales figures and understand what's happening at the consumer end. And the more you understand and spend time at the consumer end, it's only then that you can say, hey guys, my business is solid. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much, Dr. Hanta. I totally agree with you, because not just by going merely what's the growth that you're getting, but also, yes, you need to go down and see, because I also can share one example from the insurance industry itself. If you take the general insurance motor, motor category of general insurance has a huge hype during month of March, April, May. That is not because people got more motor insurance policies. That is mainly because the insurance companies renewed it even without the consent of the consumers, even without the premium, that to have the cover going. So then it came to the GWP, but the gross written premium, but still the real premium did not come. But then it had always followed with the cancellation, and the real lining out came. But then we saw that particular growth that we saw is not the real growth. In the same manner, you see the supermarkets got empty with certain rumors, but then it's a stock that you will have in the houses. But then again, subsequently, that stock will line out. Then you will see the real consumption rate in the latter part of the year. Thank you very much for the wonderful insight.
Roshan, I'm back. Sorry.
Shanaka, are you in a position to
Yes, definitely.
that?
Yes.
Okay. Can I pose the question again?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you can remember, we started talking about the first question we posed. We start this discussion talking about keeping the mentality right of your employees. So, managers have a responsibility to keep the mentality right. Before we speak about any other aspect, keeping the mentality right is the primary requirement in any organization, because we see whoever the managers who did this right has got many results, even though certain other factors are not quite right, and most other factors are not really controllable as well. So Subendra gave a wonderful answer. He gave the guidelines how people should be trained, how people should be guided, how people should be coached, and how flexible we should be with the people, how much caring we need to give to the people, all that he spoke. So, Shanaka, what I wanted from you to see, coming from the HR governance perspective, how would you look at it? How HR governance could be stretched to facilitate this particular aspect of mentality fixing?
So, Roshan, with regard to when the uncertainty happened, so from the employee's point of view, there are two things we'll create within their mindset. Number one is about what is going to next. Second one is all about what has changed. So that's a curiosity that already creating within the employee mindset. So as an organization or from the HR, it's our best interest is to make sure that our employees make them comfortable with the current situation. So that's the first thing that we need to do. Then we need to come up with telling them the honest story about what is happened in terms of the uncertainty. So number one is about the being honest and sharing them the right picture to the employees to have the right mindset. Right? Because when the uncertainty happens, there will be a lot of the stories will fly. Right? Different stories will come. Misleading stories will come. There are people will tell different stories, right? As you know that when the COVID happened, go back to in 2005 when the tsunami happened to Sri Lanka. Nobody knows about what is this tsunamis even, right? And there are a lot of stories happen, right? When the bomb blast happened, there are a lot of stories happen. And the last year when the East attack happened, there are a lot of stories fly over the internet and all the things because we don't have the picture what is happening the surrounding, right? So the first thing from the HR, what we need to do as managers is to make sure we set the right mindset of employees by giving them the right picture, right? Dr. Spoke about the fearless. I would like to add it into that quotient, fearless with the right information. So that the first thing is that their mindset will be the set, number one. Second one is that we need to be as an organization is to understand about now the employee want to know what is going to happen. Now, normally in a normal stand, the employees will work in a controlled, focused, supportive, dedicated and under supervision work environment. So when the uncertainty happen, these things will go, disappear. Right? Example: there's no control happen. The focus is in all over the places. The required support is happening. Dedication will be, distributed into different areas, and we lose the lot of supervision. So as an organization, what we need to do second is to provide them the right support from those areas I mentioned. Provide them the right control environment to work them as they work in a normal environment too, right? Focus on more areas, focus towards employees. Have a lot of connects. Managers have to connect with the employees to make sure that they have been contacted, provide the continuous support to them and have the right supervision. So we can use a lot of tools in an uncertain environment, how to make the mindsets is fine. So in terms of financially, non-financially, emotionally, in terms of socially, there are a lot of things we can use it. So I would say from the HR point of view, two things we need to do. Mainly, set the right picture by giving more honest and show them what is the right picture. Second one is provide them more support with regard to carry out their duties. Many companies have done during pandemic situation when the uncertainty happened. And there are a lot of success stories are coming, saying that, as Dr. Sim mentioned about, most of the companies have performed more than the budgets, over 40%, right? So what they have done is very simple thing. They have prepared themselves for the organization as the employees to give in the right picture and equipped with the right tools for them to work in a normal, unstructured environment, to work them in a more structured manner. So that's what we need to do as managers to make sure the employees' right mindsets are set.
Thank you, Shanaka. Something very relevant and you can connect actually what you're speaking, Shanaka. There is a question from the chat box also. The question is how we should be have the flexibility of the working. What kind of a working structure will be more suitable for the situation like this? They specifically ask about how the roster has to be made, how the people should be brought in, or do we need to totally forget about the situation, think this is as new normal and bring all staff and go pell-mell? What is your advice on that?
Okay. First of all, I would say that we have our the employee-related rules and regulations, which is Shops and Office Employee Act that we all use, which is very old. It is enacted in 1954. So almost about 60 years has gone, but nothing has changed, right? But with regard to we are in a more digital world and more flexibility can brought to in terms of the work hours, the work patterns, right? I'll give an example how you can work, right? Today, we think that we have to work from Monday to Friday and Saturday, Sundays being holidays, weekly holidays. So we can use it in a manner saying that, you know, we can work 45 hours where we can give the flexibility for the employees, how many hours they want to work and have they, you know, get the off day, different days. Most of the organizations now they came up with the flexible work hours, saying that they can work 4 days instead of 5-day week. 4-day week they work 45 hours and they will have 3 days as the weekly off, right? So there are many things we can work in terms of today's world. With this new norm has given a lot of opportunities as an organization to come up with a new ways of working and implement. So I gave one example is working 4 days and have 3-day work. And also the organizations came with the proposal saying that allow people to work where they want. Example, if they want to come from office, either they want to work from home, either work from anywhere. So those flexibilities can brought to the organizations and allow that employees to work. And also there are a lot of organizations today moving from flexible work hours, flexible employment contract, and also allowing people to select whichever, what are the days they would like. And mind you that today we are in a different world and most of the organization today allowing those to happen because they understand about today they cannot work as an organization alone. I want to say that many ways of workings are available, flexible work hours, flexible weekly off, as well as flexible work place that is being introduced many organizations in this pandemic situation.
Correct, correct. Thank you very much. I think, ladies and gentlemen who are listening to us will definitely agree with us. A lot of practical advices that you can take home, take back to your organizations in getting or setting your organization structure right, especially in this situation.
Prashant, can I add something?
Please, Dr. Ranta. Yes.
See, I really like that point that Shanak was saying about people. One thing I have found out and I've observed in the last 6 months in the organization serve is that COVID-19 is a real blessing. Now, why is it?
Yeah.
Because we have found who are the real people who fit into jobs. You know, see, nowadays nobody is going to chase after you where you work. You know, that is gone. You know, you have a responsibility. You just have to do the responsibility. If you don't do the responsibility, I mean, you just fade away from that company. That's it. It's so simple. And you know, being redundant, people having to move out of jobs is now hit Sri Lanka, where those days it was a social stigma. You know, it never happens in our type of company, but now, you know, people just move out because they know that they can't fit into that company. So the point I'm saying is that I have seen how if people are carved out to the job that they have selected, you know, they don't say I work from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock. Yeah, they don't say that I'm either coming to office or I'm not coming to office. It's just that they make sure that they answer the call when you call. When you send a mail, there's a response that comes, and the job. So I in my view, I think it has cleansed companies, and people have also got an idea of whether they really like that company and the job that they do.
Exactly, Dr. Ranta. Because the smile came to my face actually looking at. Just remembered what happened in the morning because when we had the curfews, I mean, suddenly there are curfew imposed into Panadura and Humagam area last night. Then we had certain events or has to organize this morning. So then the adjustments that we made, and also very importantly, the people adjusted for the change. So then I think Dr. Rohan would agree with me. This is the best time to look at the succession planning. You have to do a lot of screening to see who will take over and also who will be the successors for certain positions. But I'm sure the responses that we are observing today will definitely bring the cleansing and bring the real picture for the top management to see who are the people we should be grooming for the succession in the
Actually,
future.
Rochelle, I won't. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I'm not even looking at it so long.
Okay.
You know, I'm actually looking at how do you survive for the next 3 months. So now, for example, the COVID control certification, when the SLSI comes and does the audit, there are 2 audits they do. When they come to the second audit, and until that is answered, you know, it's a very difficult thing, because everybody thinks that people who sit on that boardroom will never get COVID. But what they do is it forces you to have your second line to run the business in the next 3 months. Forget this the long-term planning of who's going to be the CEO. So to that degree, people have become, you know, kind of, you know, changed, you know.
Correct. So we see the talent and as well as for the short term and long term for both. Yeah, correct. So let's talk about now. We gave the insights on certain actions that has to be taken place with regard to managing your people, putting the mentality right, how the governance has to happen, how you should handle people, giving the flexibility, all that. Let's look at the challenges that we will be facing in certain industries with these situations. And also the topic is, as you can see in the middle, plan for unplanned. So then talking about the hospitality industry, insurance, I think the best person we have in the panel is Mr. Sumendra. So Sumendra, what is your view? How much change we can expect and what kind of corners our managers has to be thought of when we are to look at the unplanned situation?
Okay, thank you, Roshan. Now, I think I just need to add one thing for the previous speakers' the thoughts. Roshan, now we have actually decentralized our powers to our employees in most of the places to make decisions. It shows that, you know, in Sinhalese they call COVID Vasangatya. Now it is become COVID Vasantya because they are making decisions in their own and they are doing it in the right way. And people feel very happy. I endorse the both speakers' statements. That's very correct. Okay, for your question, I'm actually from insurance industry, even though I just happen to talk about hospitality industry. So I actually got most of the information from the World Tourism Barometer. So I'm just going to use those information to speak now. As per the World Tourism Barometer, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the world's economy was shut down almost overnight. Undoubtedly, Roshan, the hardest hit industries are aviation, hospitality, and tourism, which are interdependent on each other as well. The pandemic has confronted the hospitality industry with an unprecedented challenge. Strategies to flatten the COVID-19 curve, such as community lockdowns, social distancing, stay-at-home orders, travel and mobility restrictions, have resulted in temporary closure of many hospitality businesses and significantly decreased the demand for business. Almost all restaurants were asked to limit their operation to only takeouts. I mean, even in Sri Lanka, even world also same thing. And also research findings indicate that around a quarter of the customers will only feel comfortable to patronize a sit-down restaurant when their community's ability to test, trace, and isolate COVID-19 cases is significantly improved. And also, as per the World Tourism Barometer, around 18% of the customers will only feel comfortable to travel to the destinations and stay at a hotel when that destination has very few COVID-19 cases and has the ability to test, trace, and isolate COVID-19 cases. Furthermore, the World Tourism Barometer says there is a group of customers who will only feel comfortable to patronize a sit-down restaurant. In percentage, that's around 14%, and travel to a destination and stay at a hotel around 17% when the COVID-19 vaccine becomes available. Now you will understand the gravity of this pandemic for this particular industry. These findings clearly suggest that we need further research on factors that can drive customers back to the hospitality business. Roshan, primarily, findings also suggest that around 1/3 of restaurant customers, around 40% hotel customers are willing to pay more for increased safety precautions. Because while customers expect hospitality businesses to implement more rigorous safety or cleaning procedures, a portion of them are willing to pay for those added safety measures. I'm just still telling you how this is work. Further, research is needed to determine the importance of each of these safety precautions, how such measures will influence customers' attitudes and behaviors, and whether customers are indeed willing to pay for them and by how much more. That we don't have a research finding so far. And also, Roshan, primarily findings also indicate that a large portion of restaurant customers, and as for the findings, it's around 64%, and the majority of the hotel customers, nearly around 70%, believe that the use of various technologies in service delivery will necessary in COVID-19 environment in order to minimize human-to-human contact. Examples are, for example, service robots, contactless payments such as Apply Pay or contactless bank cards, digital menus that can be viewed by personal mobile devices or QR codes, contactless digital payments, keyless entries to the rooms, touchless elevators, etc., etc. There are so many. The findings strongly suggest that the technology integration and adoption to hospitality operations will likely be integral in the near future. That will happen. While hospitality researchers have been studying the use of various technologies in hospitality service delivery over the years, most of those studies have focused on unintelligent technology adoption. Recent developments in artificial intelligence and social service robot technologies have enabled the use of artificial intelligence technologies in service delivery, and the COVID-19 pandemic may precipitated the popularity of such technology for public safety reasons. Roshan, therefore, while the COVID-19 pandemic has dealt the hospitality industry and the academia with the uncharted challenges, it also presents a great research opportunity for hospitality scholars as well. Now, what I'm trying to tell you is, with the change, I think at one point, Dr. Rohanta very correctly said that the restaurant can be converted to a different business model. Of course, I have seen the research has found there are so many restaurants has converted to daily need outlets. They have put all the daily need outlets because there's a need from the society, and they have converted and they're doing business. And also there are certain danger also there. Now, I found through this research, what I found is disposable goods are being mandated and will be the norm for the foreseeable future, creating a unique challenge to balance sanitation needs and sustainability practices. Menus are required to be disposable, grab and go growing in usage, increasing the volume of takeaway containers. We will see more plastic wrapped everything as more restaurants and hotels come back online. So these are some changes. So what I see is hotel industry or the hospitality industry has a huge impact because of the COVID. But the most important thing is now the hotel owners are looking for alternative measures to provide employment for their employees. And also, if they just keep quiet and if they think that because of the COVID, they cannot have operation, they need to shut down the operation. They have to incur the loss. So that is not possible by these owners and the employees, because they have to provide salaries, and they have to have these, what do you call these, overheads, everything. So Roshan, I think alternative measures are coming in place, and most of the time, I think very soon, even with the government inputs and the support from other corporate sector organizations, this industry will come in a different form. But still, we cannot tell exactly this is going to happen. But only thing what I can tell you is there's a huge changes coming in the hospitality industry, and which will be for the positive side, and that benefit you and me also can enjoy. That's all I can tell about the hospitality industry at this moment.
Thank you, Sumendra. Actually, we all see there are people are ready even with this situation. Okay, let's start tourism. Let's accept tourists to the country. They also willing to come here, maybe with the certain precautions, certain measures, health measures. But again, then we need to run the country. We need to run our businesses. But also, again, one factor that both employer and employee will have to compromise. They need to curtail on certain objectives from both parts, because I see in the chat box also some of the questions that the audience have raised. It looks like they are being unfairly treated by their employers, or either the private organizations not looking after them very clearly. Because I remember when we speak about, some of them personally also spoke to me and told, why don't you have a separate webinar to see how unfairly these employees are being treated by employers? What they say is, companies have driven for so many years and they have earned enough profits, and then for a few years or even few months, the employees should be treated fairly, and there should not be a salary cut. But also on the contrary, we also can argue from the employer's perspective that all the profits they have been earning after paying all the wages or after paying all the taxes, and also giving all the credit to employees in a way of maybe dividends or in a way of bonuses. Everything is paid, everything is given away. Then what is remaining is being taken out for the owners. So then there is no right, anybody can pinpoint on those funds that is being reserved with the owner. So the point that I'm trying to make is, you need to curtail from the employer's perspective, because with the new normal situation in any industry, when you have the diversification to certain activities compared to what we are doing, even in tourism, then you will not be able to play in the same way. You will not be able to compensate the employees in the same way, because you will not be able to earn the profits in the same way that you did. So that has to be understood properly. So with that, we will
Can I say something
forward
here?
So I think yeah, Dr.
See, two
Rohan.
things. One point I just like to share what Sumendra was mentioning is that yes, the whole tourism industry collapsed, and I mean, I think they say that it's about $6 to $7 trillion decline in the total GDP because of the tourism collapse. But while this is true, if you look at Sri Lanka, there is enough tourists wanting to come to Sri Lanka. So right now there is a discussion happening where 50 groups of 50 people are going to be brought down from Germany and Russia. But then of course they can't travel all over the country. They are brought from the airport directly into a boutique hotel, and they have to stay in the hotel. So the people who are coming will be like above 55, 60 years. They come and they spend time at least 30 days. They spend because it's winter in those countries and it's very cold. So they come here and they stay for about 30, 35 days and they go back. So now we will see a different type of tourism happening in the world. So it's very interesting. Already Thailand has tested it out and they're practicing it. So I mean, I don't know whether you know, but maybe about 2 months back, Thailand was crashing because they again got a huge surge in tourism on COVID. We'll see this continuous opening and closing. That's the reality. The second point I just like to share with you is that See, guys, I mean, I sit on many boards. One particular board that I sit in, the chairman, does it cost to run? I mean, when your running cost is so high, what do? You have to declare bankruptcy. So in the month of April, that was what was done. But then the whole exports just bounced back. And today, the value of that company in terms of shares is the highest valued company. So, it's easy to say, we got to look after employees, but then when you're a company and you realize that, you're just wiped out because your operational cost is so high, and you have grown so big, you just get wiped out in 1 or 2 days, man. I mean, I've read this in books, but when I sit on a board and I see this, it's not a easy thing to stay. I mean, it's really tough. So sometimes the small companies with about 5 to 10% shares, it's really good to have a company like that, because you don't feel the impact. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rohantha. Actually, stemming from what Dr. Rohantha said, actually, all the human resource aspects, all the people, operation, consumer, everything drills down to the P&L of the organization. Because always shareholders will look at, okay, what's next for me? All actions, okay, taking care of organizations has to happen, but then what's in it for me? Can I expect the same rate of return on investment? Ultimately, is my investment going to have a sort of a sinking? So here comes the importance of the budgeting. So I think we have the best person, and also being the chairman of People's Bank once, and also being the head of CMA Sri Lanka, Professor Lakshman, or whatever, our founder president, and the president is the best person to give us some insight how the budgeting has to happen in this context.
Thank you, Roshan. Budget is, of course, very, very important, but we need to see what is the budget you are looking at. Because today, if you ask anyone, what they will say is cash is king. So you have to really look at the budgeted cash flow, because how much of income you are going to get, how much of expenditure you are going to incur. Expenditure means all will be all on cash basis. So you need to work out a new budgeted cash flow. I don't think you should forget about the income and expenditure, but go into the cash flow, because now what was spoken earlier of people losing jobs, people having pay cuts. Then also I think Dr. Rohantha was saying how they increase the income, where new areas, where new cash was coming in. Now these are the things that we need to look into, because what if we are losing one business, can we do something new? So he also mentioned about that our business people become entrepreneurs. Now that's something that our CPM has started. Now you have to become entrepreneurs. You cannot just sit there, because I think the COVID-19 has really given new avenues of looking at things. In fact, if you look at the accounting terms, we call it creating value. If an employee is there, you may be the highest paid salary, but if you do not create value for the organization, the boss will call you and say, please go home, because it's just expenditure. You do not have cash to pay his salary. So everyone has to take into account how they can bring in some cash, especially in this situation. Why are the people being retrenched? Why are their salaries being cut? Because they are not having cash to pay the expenses that are incurring. So cash budgeting is very important, but when you look at this, you cannot go on the traditional way you're going to do things. Easiest thing is to cut the expenditure. Definitely everyone will say you can cut the expenditure. Okay, you know what are the areas you can cut it. But if you can't increase the income, then you're going to be in a problem. That's where You have to look at new avenues, new ideas, how you can get the cash flow to come in. So in this respect, although income and expenditure, even if your income and expenditure is at a negative, please see that your cash flow is positive. Now say this month your income is say 3 million cash flow and your outgoings are say 4 million, then where are you going to get another 1 million cash? So that's why cash has become king, and even the government is the same thing. If the government wants to pay salaries, do everything, even now if you look at the transport service, who are the people who are traveling by train mainly? It is the government servants. If they give them, now you're talking of working at home, give them to work 2 days a week. Transport problem is sorted out. So I think they have to look at things more in a practical way, how it can be sorted out, and also what is the sort of value going to give. So cash has to be thought in that way. And if we understand that, definitely we will be going in the right direction. I just want to make one comment on the tourism industry. Now, all of us know that we are not in a position to get large number of tourists coming here. Then, so of course, we are still trying to get more and more, but we definitely know that that will not happen. But now, I think Dr. Rohanta mentioned a very, very valid point, where tour agents are now doing other businesses. So I have not seen the tourist board. I think he has been the head of the tourist board. I would have set a plan to retrain these people. There are large number of the big hotels may be managing, but there are so many entrepreneur people who are maybe self-employed. Then start skill development, do some training program, put them on another track. Now that they are not taught. So I think from our side as professionals, especially from the CPM side, we should give them these ideas. Otherwise, every day we hear so many coming. Now this is what also Dr. Hanta mentioned, but we still cannot fill that gap because we have to give a method by which, and that's why the professional view is required. I'm sure that you all should look at that and try to reskill these people, tell the government what has to be done so that they can go into another way how they can earn their living. That is why I'm saying cash is important for them. They can't wait till those people come. Can they do something and earn some money? That is what they want to do. So I think what you mentioned is quite valid, and it's cash is the most important thing for everyone. Now, even if you are doing this seminar, if you had to travel to a hotel, now we conduct this in a hotel. Now see, we are saving that cost. We are giving this free to our members. Now see, of course, we are able to do it because we know that it is within our cash situation. We can meet that and do it. So there are a lot of pluses, but we need to put this to everyone so that they can understand it and then pass the message so that make everyone to see that they can earn some cash for their living. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Roshan, may I add something to that?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. Now, Roshan, as Professor said, as Dr. Rohanta said, now most of the hoteliers, maybe chauffeurs, maybe those who were function as guides and all, they have actually doing employment even with my organization. So we have a huge recruitment recently done. Most of them are from hospitality industry. And also what we found is they are very well shaped to the organizational requirement because they have been trained in such a way to deal with people, especially since I'm also from insurance and service industry. These people, they come and fit in the industry very well because they have those experience gathered in the hospitality, allow them to deliver a very good service, and they are very successful also. So as Dr. Rohanta and as Professor very correctly said, people are looking for employment right now. And those days, of course, once a person has been asked to go home, they go home and cry. But now people have a lot of alternative opportunities and they actually want to get into something and they want to create some income for them to live. That's how it's happening. So even though COVID pandemic has changed the business dimension in the world, people have a lot of alternatives. Everything is because of the mindset. If you have the very positive mindset, I think you can look for a lot of alternatives.
Sure,
See,
sure.
just one thing, Roshan, if I may add, I mean, we are talking a lot of positive things, in a positive spirit, but also being grounded to the reality. But there's one group of people who really suffer, and that happens to be kids like between the ages of 8 and 12 years. That group is lost, because when we were that kind of age, you 6 o'clock you get up, 6:30 you're running, you're at class by 7:15, and then you get trained in your brain, but now these kids get up at 10 o'clock in the morning. They can't go out to cycle down the road. They can't go anywhere, and the whole day they're on a computer, so that's a huge issue which has no solution yet. I think uh, it was, I think, Google, uh, not Google, the other guy, Microsoft chairman said that this time's conference they had was totally targeting the 8 to 12-year-old, and how they can come out with some a new product which can uh, compensate for the loss that kids are having to socialize with if they were to be in school. But yet Microsoft has not come out with that product, so that's a big issue. It's a huge issue.
Yeah, that's very true. I totally agree with Dr. Rohant, because I'm also a father of 3 kids, where I have 2 daughters between those 2 ages, because they are not very convenient even with the online learning. But the elder one, yes, of course, who have passed that particular age, but not the others too. True. Going back to professors and Sumendra's comment, yes, of course, ladies and gentlemen, it's all about the value creation. If the organization can create the value, doesn't matter what the organization did before. If they can create the value now, doesn't matter how much change the organization did, still there is a room to survive better. Same way, even as an individual, if you can keep creating the value to the organization, either individually or as an entrepreneur, still you can survive and be better. So then, talking about creating value in an organization, yes, to create the value from the HR perspective, we provide the JDs, KPIs. So in this particular change, when we are planning for Unplanned, how the JDs and how the KPIs has to be focused. So let me again pose this question to our HR specialist, Shanaka. What is your opinion on that?
So before I answer that question, I just want to share with you one image. Hopefully I can do that. Hope you can able to see my screen.
Yes.
Right. This was in 2000, this photo in 2009. You can see a pilot and a photographer. So they were the highest paid people in those era in 2009. Just 10 years now, in terms of 2019-20, cameraman and the pilot both lost their jobs because of we have that the small gadget. It can be operated by even a small boy, so that everything can be done with this, right? So I'll just move from my screen, stop sharing, right? So this is where today most of the people will talk about the change. Change is already here, right? So therefore, as an organizations, we have to be, adapt to the change. If not, we will not able to create any value to the organization or to yourself, right? So now coming back to your questions, Roshan, you mentioned about KPI, job descriptions, targets, things like that. So I would say that those things remain unchanged. But what is changed is about the expectations today from the organization with regard to the current situation that we are all in, right? So therefore, I would say KPI, key performance indicators, or your performance appraisals, those things will come to a play when the organization make profits, when the organization is in a dire situation where they want to perform. So I would say KPIs, job descriptions, everything is there, but I would say that today the organization expectation is very much higher compared to at the time of your joining or compared to the time of your taking the job that about 2 years or 3 years ago. Right. So as organization is looking from the employees in terms of their expectations, engagement, responsibility, loyalty. Those are some of the good words that we already heard as managers. But today, most of the organization are looking at saying that your KPIs remain unchanged. Your job description remain unchanged. Maybe your salary is remain unchanged or even reduced, but still you are expected to do a better job than what was yesterday. So that is a reality. So in that manner, most of the organization use today, most of the tools, example, productivity, to measure the productivity versus in terms of what is expected and what is actual that you've been delivered. If you're in a sales, you can able to see whether how much your target versus how much you achieve, right? In terms of manufacturing, you can able to manage that. So there are a lot of things today the organization looking at. I would say KPIs, JDs, are not only limited to papers, but today it's operationally it's happening, but the expectations has been raised. And adding to that, if you look at the those days organization use performance appraisals in terms of to both to reward people as to give the promotions, things like that. Today, most organizations using these KPIs and the job descriptions as a talent tool to identify who's your key talent employees in the organization, as Dr. Ronta says, who's the most important, who can reliable, who can survive in the organization in the current situation, where they will also go with the organization to make the organization more brighter, more stronger. I would say that the format of KPIs, job descriptions, setting goals remain unchanged, but the way that operate is going to be very changed in the near future also. I would recommend as managers, we also understand about how we can link that the expectations drill down to our employees and make sure that we as managers as the central point to make sure that we have the KPIs, job descriptions, expectations, performance appraisals, everything is there. But more than that, we make sure that we get their work from employees and to meet our expectation from the organization. I think the HR is changing dramatically in this current situation because there are a lot of things are changing, ways of working, the work patterns are changing, type of employments are changing, employee mindsets are changing, organization expectations are changing. I think we have to work, play a bigger role in this situation as HR, as managers, to make sure that organization runs properly and the employees are look after very well. So I think that's why this KPIs, job description, and the performance appraisals, everything will come to play in a normal way.
So when you have that particular approach, but still you need to handle people. So then I remember when we had the discussion with ourselves last weekend. So Dr. Rohanta mentioned either inspire or shut up, right, Dr. Rohanta, if you can remember.
Yes.
So in that way, I think there is a challenge or rather consideration to the top management. So how would you advise the top management to handle that situation? When you say either you want to either inspire or then shut up, okay, then you're pushing for inspiration. How do you elaborate that?
Are you asked a question from me or is it from
Dr. Rohan?
Okay.
Sorry. Your mic is mute, yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, Manja, what's your question? Sorry,
that day I was just I remember that when we discussed, you were mentioning, okay, I inspire or shut up. So that's a kind of approach. Yes, as Shanaka said, our approach to JDs, KPIs will be somewhat same, but our approach, our expectations will change. But again, then we need to manage people. Then you also have to tell, okay, you inspire or then shut up. So then how would you elaborate that?
Guys, the point here is that not that you want to hear rosy pictures. That is not the objective here. It's just that if you're giving bad news, okay, it has to be backed with some data. Be very clear. For instance, guys, you might have a situation where your sales guys will come and tell you that between the places like Jayala and maybe Nigambo, your sales are down. Okay, And we have heard this for the last 5 months. Now the poor guy needs to be trained to ask why. So now you can't just whip the guy just because he's giving bad news. You need to sit with the guy and understand what's happening. So then you suddenly realize that your whole production of the apparel industry had crashed in the last 5 months, and most of the girls who are working there have now gone back to their villages. So what happens is, no wonder the consumption is different now. So 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 I'm not saying that the rhetoric of talk positive but otherwise shut up is just a rhetoric. But the point here is that there has to be some justification of when you give bad news, and then you need to ask yourself, how are we going to catch this up somewhere else, which is the most important thing. So I mean, I just go back to that point where I mentioned that don't, in the pre-pandemic, you always say you're going to run your business saying, I'm going to stay to the knitting. But see, guys, that doesn't hold ground in the post-pandemic. You have to see that you might have to change your total business model, even if it hurts. I mean, sometimes it's actually very hurtful when you have to change your business model, because the companies have done this business for years and they have been successful. So, but again, you don't just make change, but you have to do usage and attitude studies. You got to understand the consumer. You have to visit the retail outlets. I mean, I don't know whether you believe, but last Saturday, while everybody was at home, I was visiting retail outlets, meeting Mudalalgis and asking what was the changes that he sees, because this time the consumer is behaving differently to the lockdown consumer. I mean, it's very strange. Huh? I mean, those days they went and bought all the products, and you are stocking. Right now, it's not happening this time around. People know that even though there's a lockdown, your supply chain is not going to get disrupted. It's a policy change, policy decision that has been taken from upstairs. So they're going to give breaks. There are breaks that the government is going to give you to go and shop. So consumers also know that. Secondly, I don't think they have the money to buy large stocks. Right? So there is there, because some people have lost their jobs, some people have lost their pay, they have got pay cuts. So they're running in tough situations. So it's very interesting. In my view, it's the most interesting time that I have done business. Thank you.
Correct.
Roshan, let me add one thing
Roshan,
to what Shanaka said. One point is very interesting. Now, actually, in the pre-COVID, of course, we most of the time just give a JD for a person and ask him to do a certain job. But in the post-COVID, if we need to face the unplanned situation in future also, we need to have a agile sort of a work plan for employees, and they should be able to do different tasking based on the requirement arises. Because otherwise, I think the operations cannot have a consistency. So I think in workplace in many countries, I have seen that the agile work structures have been introduced, and people have been given opportunity to work in different areas. So the operation can have a consistency even during a pandemic or in a lockdown situation. So that's also one point that we need to think of right now.
I think just another point. I mean, I think we are stopping at 8:30. Roshan?
Yes.
I mean, I just like to share one point. So because I'm in this COVID thing, because of my involvement with Rotary and things like that, see guys, don't expect this vaccine to hit us in the next 6 months. I mean, that's not going to work, because see, even if you had delivered the vaccine tomorrow, let's assume that I think Ranbaxy and all those people are ahead of the curve. I mean, today's Oxford study shows that I think chances are that the UK might see a vaccine coming out in the next 2 months. But see, even if the vaccine comes out, you have to understand that the commercial production is going to take another 3 months. And then after that, you have to put your logistical system in play as to how you're going to move those vaccines into the markets. Then how you're going to do the logistics with regard to going to outskirts villages and putting this vaccine. Now we have, I mean, we supported the World for polio eradication. I mean, we spent about, I think, $2.5 to $3 billion all over the world with the Bill Gates, Melinda Foundation, with the different kinds of partners all over the world, like UNICEF. But see, that was an easier task, and it took 30 years. Even now, Afghanistan and Pakistan are yet pockets where polio exists. And that was easier because, you go to a child and you drop the polio drops. Here, you have to give a shot, which means you have to give a vaccine, right? And that means you and I can't do this. You need to have specialized people to give this shot. And currently, what the vaccine manufacturer, there are about 91 people who are running the race. All are saying you need to have 2 shots, okay? And each shot will cost you about 8,000 rupees. So I don't know how many governments can afford and how many consumers can afford to do this. So the point I'm saying is that we'll have to live with COVID for the next at least 1 year. I mean, I think it will be 2022 first half that we will see the world coming back to place. So all we have to do is to just make sure that we protect ourselves and make sure that those numbers come into the companies, and then we have to make sure that uh, we learn to live with COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Shanaka had something to share.
Yes. Yes, definitely. I think I will take it from what Dr. Rohanta says and Professor Lakshman mentioned about as the management professional organization, our responsibility. I hope that everyone is watching IPL today. So in IPL, you can see the Chennai Super Kings was the most successful cricket team today, sitting at the bottom of the table. And you can see there are many new players are coming and becoming more stars. I think that's what Dr. Rohanta was trying to say in terms of what either you inspire, you shut up, right? So because today, as an organization, as an employees, more multi-skills, multi-driven employees. If you don't do that, I don't think that they can able to shine in this uncertain pandemic situation where the organization or the corporates are heading. Today, as I said, organization expectations has not reduced. It has been more higher than what is being past. And employees, the KPI, JDs, the normal terms and conditions remain unchanged. But you need to be playing like the IPL, even though you are not famous or not known, but still you perform and you can able to come to the highest level. Look at the people like Chris Gale, who was very famous. The only focus in terms of batting. Even he's dropped several matches, but he has to come as not as a batsman, but also as at least as a bowler or a fielder. If you can't be a all rounder, I don't think that you will going to be survive, and you have to be shut up. So therefore, I think in this pandemic situation or the uncertain environment, unplanned situation, we need to plan is to make sure that you inspire in the current situations. Otherwise, you will not have any chance in going forward. That's it's my message.
Thank you, Shanaka. So it's all about having the culture also within the organization set for this. And I'm sure even though we did not discuss many industries in detail, but still the application to all the industries is going to be more or less the same, because it's all about managing people, setting the statistics right, setting the knowledge right, setting our approaches and attitude right. So ladies and gentlemen who are representing the audience, you're in different industries, you're representing different companies. I'm sure there are a lot of practical insights that you can take home back to your organization. That was our main objective of the program. So we are now ready to conclude the 21st Evening for Managers Forum organized by Chartered Institute of Professional Managers of Sri Lanka. And let me thank Professor Lakshman and also Dr. Rohanta, Sumendra and Shanaka for joining us, and also for their wonderful and very practical insights, and also back there our director Dilshan and the patient. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Let's meet up for next webinar or next program of Evening for Managers soon.